and we've also addressed this too. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's probably I mean, my personal opinion is that we shouldn't have guns in this country at all. But I'm also a realist, and I know that there are people who want them for legitimate reasons. I know that it'll never happen because this country is too deep into gun culture. In terms of policy, no one is asking to outlaw guns. We are asking for some sane measures that we ask literally for numerous other things that we do in this country. We're asking us first to treat guns the same way we treat cars at the very least. And we can't even do that. You can't, there are more regulations on someone selling churros on the streets of Manhattan than there are on guns in this country. Yeah, there are the churro ladies in Manhattan get tickets for selling churros,
and there are special
like on the streets of Manhattan.
And like gun show. The bodegas have like special restrictions on like selling ice cream, believe it or not, like selling different kinds of ice cream. I can't remember specifically what it is, but yeah, I've represented bodega guys for selling ice cream without the right kind of like whatever thing, and or like, you know, cigarette stuff. Yeah, no, that's actually vendors right there. That's not even like hyperbole.
Like, we're asking for the most basic shit. Like, there should be some basic background checks. There should be some basic registration measures. This is just common sense. And
I do wonder if there was a louder anti-gun voice, like people that actually wanted to take all the guns away, if these obvious common sense reforms would be more likely, because it'd be like, well, at least we're not going to go as far as taking all the guns away. Okay, we'll accept, you know, these reforms here. But because there is no real voice to take all the guns away, it's just like you're arguing against people who don't.
We don't need that real person. The right's made that person up. Every single time, Obama's going to come door to door, take all your guns, get ready. Biden's coming door to door to take all your guns, get ready. Literally, the far right preparing to shoot like law enforcement or military that they imagine in their heads is going to knock on their door and request their guns. They've already created this guy, and it doesn't matter.
That's the voter, though. Like, I mean, in terms of like the politicians. Like, if there was actual debate by politicians that some of them wanted to take the guns away, then maybe the gun lobby would be more like, okay, well, we don't want to go that far. Okay, we'll accept some of these basic restrictions. But yeah, like the voter obviously is they're far gone. They think what you said. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the actual politicians that are making the laws, you know, if there was some real debate about, or if there was some real extremes on the left around guns, maybe just common sense reform would be more likely.
I agree. I mean, that is actually that was a lot of like early academic abolitionist position, right? Is that abolition was a position they should advocate for with the criminal system, because it would seem so radical and extreme to people that they would be more likely to go for the people that suggest the reforms. You know what I mean? Which are, you know, steps there. So yeah, I think that makes sense, David.
And that's really a strategy that could be used on any issue. Like, go to the far extreme when you're in government, and then hope for, you know, something a little better than what you have.
I'm going to be honest. I think the problem with that, and I like the premise, I like it, but I think in reality, I don't know how to say this without this sounding like not great. So it's just going to happen. But we have the right that's getting more right by the day, right? And then we have people that claim they're liberals or centrists who essentially are getting drugged by the right weight and are also going more right by default because they're not willing to stand firm on their beliefs. The amount of people I've had to fight with that want to be like, oh, I'm centrist, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, okay, cool. You stand for nothing. So the problem is a vast majority of Americans fall into that pool of gray blah where they really don't have a fucking opinion, or they don't care to have an opinion, and they choose to not have a voice or opinion, or just party lines, not really care about the issues at hand. It's starting to change, but not quick enough. And the problem with that is when you have the right that is so unified over this whole, there will be no restrictions ever, it doesn't matter. And when they create this boogeyman, like what Matt was saying about this fake person that is going to take all your guns, that Obama's going to do it, that Biden's going to do it, and no one has ever advocated for it. It doesn't matter because the nightmare in their heads is so much more extreme, and then so many Americans are so freaking passive that that monster might as well be here. And so here's our boogeyman. He's here, at least in their minds. Nothing's changing still. So now what?
I personally, I think for me, I deal with Republicans under the premise that that they know that they're bullshitting. You know what I mean? That they know that they're in on it. You know what I mean? They're in on the straw man. Like they know that it's make believe for real. Like they understand what their ultimate. That's why they're so unionized. Why they work so well together, because they understand what their ultimate center, true underlying goals are. Right? They know what the bigotry they're really rallied around are, and everything is just means of getting us all caught up in the dance of arguing and going around in circles and gaslighting us and getting us to waste our time and to distract us. So for me, it's like, it wouldn't really be about them. It's more so about, I guess, like the Democrats and the liberals that have more of a good faith, belief in what their position is. Like when Republicans start painting it like there's a particular problems, the Democrats and the liberals and the, quote unquote left leaning moderates who are like, oh yeah, they start thinking that too, like, oh, there's somebody in da 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 da, and they always feel when they have it in their mind if there was an actual candidate who was, somebody was a larger movement of people trying to take all the guns, they do clamor to rally around like a moderate because they feel like that person is causing the Republicans to like brand them like this, like, oh, we're the Democrats, we're reasonable, and they're like, oh, let me go run to this. Like, remember when they talk a lot of shit now, but remember when Biden first said he was running again, and they were like, whoa, yeah, oh, my safe died hard, oh, times of yesterday. They were dead. They were happy. Trust me, they were very happy. Like, no mind what Twitter be saying. In real life, they be happy. They like their boy. They like he keeps it real regular, real times I was used to. So I think both. It's one of those things that's an intellectual exercise. Like, who knows, right? There's no right or we don't know because in it. I think both ways.
I think it matters who you're talking about. If you're talking about like powerful voices in media, I think you're right to say that they know what they're doing. When it comes to the voter, right-wing voters, they're not thinking at all. It's all feeling. It's all emotion. It's all, oh, this is trans people are scary now because I don't understand it, and like that's like they're motivated by fear, and they're completely absent of thinking. But when it comes to people controlling them in media, absolutely, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They recite right-wing talking points because the right is very, very good at monopolizing discourse. So, they're all in unison. Republicans say the same thing. Fox News says the same thing. Their influencers and propagandists say the same thing. So if you have a bunch of people repeating something all at the same time in unison, I mean, that really does help to shape public discourse. It's why, like Blair was talking about, these people, these centrists who don't really have any cohesive ideas. They're just kind of like, there's a lot of gray area. And that usually is the case, but when they do have opinions, like you can tell they base that off of what they hear, like the loudest people. Like I remember when I was working at fucking Blockbuster in 2009 and Obama was first inaugurated, and I had customers coming in, oh, go buy a gun because he's gonna take your guns. Like just normal people who were seemingly apolitical. Like they just recite the bullshit that they hear. So you can really do a lot to influence political discourse. This is a bit of a side tangent, but by just being loud. Say that again.
Didn't gun sales skyrocket too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like a post-Obama spike or something?
Oh yeah, definitely. So they legitimately thought, and even like my friends who were like very libby and like apolitical were saying the same thing. Oh, I'd like to see them take my guns. It's like, motherfucker, you don't have any guns. I know you. You don't have guns. What, your dad's gun? That's not your gun. It's just, they repeat what they hear. And, Democrats could learn a thing or two, at least strategically, from Republicans. But that's a little bit of a side note. Like, people kind of just, they're sponges and they absorb the bullshit. So if you could be really loud, that's how you can influence the normies,